Have you ever felt the money in your wallet getting less and less, yet your heart remains strangely peaceful? You look up to heaven and ask, God, do you still remember me? If you've ever had that moment, today I want you to know that I have heard you. I, your God, am not being silent, I am preparing. Preparing something greater than you could expect. Not just a few bills in your bank account, but a season of blessings so abundant there won't be room enough to contain it. I know you're tired of waiting too long, tired of self-encouragement promises that show no results. But child, what you call waiting, I call shaping. Even when you see nothing, I am arranging everything. I clearly remember one night, a young single mother who had just lost her job. She sat alone in her small rented room, holding unpaid bills as tears fell. No one heard her, but I heard. No one saw her, but I saw. She whispered, God, if you are real, please do something, even just a small sign. 3 days later, a stranger called and invited her to be an assistant teacher for an online class. From that point on, work came steadily, and after a year, she opened her own center, teaching others who had lost faith just like she once had. You see, it only takes one prayer, an open heart, one moment of believing, and miracles begin. You're watching this video not by accident but because I brought you here at the right time. In the next 30 minutes, I will show you 10 clear signs that I, your God, am using to signal to you, child, blessings are coming. Each sign will open a door leading you from doubt to faith, from worry to peace, and finally, from lack to abundance in the way I have planned. So if today your heart still holds a little doubt, a little fragility, let me take your hand and guide you through each sign, each step on the journey to unlimited provision. Let's begin here, my beloved child. Have you ever reached a point where everything around seemed fine, but your heart was full of anxiety? Your bank account isn't growing, bills still arrive regularly, and your sleep each night feels increasingly heavy. And then, instead of seeking solutions from people, you feel a desire to be closer to me, to open the Bible, to hear a prayer, to silently call out, God, I'm here. Do you know what that is? It's not coincidence, it's me touching your spirit. When you begin to feel powerless regarding money, that's when I begin to sow divine hope in your heart. I remember a young woman, a single mother who quit her job after the pandemic with no income left. She ate only one meal a day but still kept a small Bible by her pillow. Each night, she opened that Bible, not to seek an immediate miracle, but just to hear me in the silence. I saw each tear that fell onto those pages. I saw her let go of anger and begin to believe that I hadn't abandoned her, and I never did. Child, many think that only when they pray powerfully, read the Bible extensively, or do many good deeds will I notice them. But in truth, I come closest when your heart trembles yet still dares to call my name. Financial worries don't weaken you. On the contrary, if you let me use that very worry as a bridge, it will become a gateway for miracles. Because I don't come just to bless, I come to be near, and that nearness is the first miracle. And then, after I've sown in your heart a longing, a seeking, I continue using another silent signal to confirm that you're heading in the right direction. What is it? A call in your heart, so soft yet impossible to ignore. Next, I will explain clearly to you about the second sign. Have you ever heard a very small voice echoing in your heart? Not with your ears but with your faith, a feeling vague yet so clear it makes you pause. I call this the divine whisper, a sound not from human lips but from my heart sent directly to your soul. Child, when you begin to hear words like, keep going, I am working for you, don't give up, I still have plans, and no one around you is saying these things, know that I, myself, am conversing with you. There was a young man who used to be a marketing manager. After the crisis, he lost his job and had nearly 300 million in debt. One night, sitting in his dark room, he was about to call to borrow money again, but right at that moment, 3 clear words echoed in his heart, pray first now. He was silent, and instead of calling, he knelt down. Right after that night, an old friend contacted him offering freelance collaboration. The work seemed small but opened up a whole chain of stable income. 3 months later, he paid off his debt. 6 months later, he had his first savings. And most memorably, from that day on, whenever facing pressure, he always pauses to listen for that gentle call, "Trust me." My beloved child, I don't always speak through thunder and lightning. I don't always appear as gloriously as in the Bible. Many times, I choose to speak to you through stillness, because when your mind is willing to be quiet, you can hear me most clearly. No need for candles, no need for magnificent churches, just your heart ready to listen. Because if you're watching this video right now, and in your heart there is also a silent voice saying, "Listen, this is for you," then I confirm, yes, this is for you. And do you know what? When I have spoken to you, I am no longer silent. I begin arranging doors, but before opening a new door, I often close old ones. That's why in sign number 3, you will see a familiar phenomenon. All doors seem to close, forcing you to look up and see me. We will enter into that right now. You've asked me before, "God, why is nothing going as planned? Why do I apply for jobs but no one calls back? Why do I try so hard but my income remains meager?" My love, don't think I'm abandoning you. That silence is actually my arrangement. I don't close doors to punish you. I close them to direct your gaze upward. Do you remember Joseph in the Bible? A young man full of dreams, yet sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused, imprisoned, all doors seemingly shut tight. But do you know what happened? In my storehouse, I was preparing him to become the leader of all Egypt. No one thought someone from the bottom could stand at the pinnacle of power, but I accomplished what no one thought possible, and I may be doing the same with you. I remember a young man who was once a creative employee for an advertising company suddenly laid off without clear reason. He looked for work everywhere, no one would hire him, and he almost gave up. But during that period of unemployment, he began writing a faith-sharing paragraph on Facebook every morning. After just 2 months, his personal page had thousands of followers. A pastor from far away noticed and invited him to create content for an evangelistic channel. The door humans closed, I opened one no one had thought of. Don't panic when all pathways seem to close, because when you have nowhere to go, you will look up, and that's when you'll see the biggest door is where I stand waiting. I don't close doors to disappoint you but to prevent you from taking the wrong path. Perhaps it's not the best time for a promotion, not the right relationship, not the project meant for you. But I know what's meant for you, and at the right time, I will open it in a way that's undeniable. Only God could have done this. And do you know what? Just as I begin closing doors, I also sow in your heart a strange new habit, generosity, not when you have plenty, but when you hardly have anything left. In sign number 4, I'll show you how when you begin to give even in your lack, it's the moment blessings silently run toward you. Are you ready yet, my beloved? People usually think only when they have much can they give, but I, your God, don't wait until you're rich to teach you how to bless. I teach you right in the midst of lack, because when you dare to be generous in poverty, you are proving to both heaven and earth that you are ready for me to fill you up. I clearly remember a young college graduate living on her small remaining savings. One day, passing a bakery, she saw an elderly woman standing there trembling, asking for a few coins to buy a loaf of bread. The girl opened her wallet, only 100,000 VND left, not much but not nothing. She walked over, gave all the money to the woman, and smiled. I believe God will take care of the rest for me. The very next day, she received an interview email, and just 1 week later, she had her first job with double the expected salary. You've heard me say in Luke 6 verse 38, "Give, and it will be given to you." A good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. This isn't just a promise but an operating principle in my kingdom. When you give, you are declaring to heaven that you aren't blinded by the fear of lack, you live by faith, and that faith is the key that unlocks heavenly treasures. I don't need you to give a lot, I need your heart. Just a little sharing, a word of encouragement, a meal you invite someone to, these are spiritual acts. Don't wait until you're rich to help others. It's generosity when poor that I value most because it proves you trust me to compensate for everything. And when you begin to live generously, something very strange will happen. The Bible, which you rarely read, will naturally appear before your eyes with very specific verses, exactly when needed. That's not coincidence, child. That's sign number 5, when I begin speaking to you through Scripture, repeatedly, like a divine reminder. Let's continue into that right now. Have you ever been scrolling through social media and suddenly seen a familiar Bible verse, then minutes later another video mentions exactly the same verse? I know the plans I have for you, Jeremiah 29 verse 11, repeated again and again everywhere you look. Child, that's not coincidence, that's my word, and I'm marking the moment I'm about to act. I've seen this happen with 3 people, a kindergarten teacher who lost her job during the pandemic, a newly retired driver without a pension, and a student waiting for a scholarship. All 3 didn't know each other but kept seeing Jeremiah 29 verse 11 appearing on social media, through friends, in emails, even in books and newspapers. And just days later, all 3 received what they never expected, a support fund, a new job, and a full scholarship. I know your heart tends to forget, you easily doubt, easily waver, so I repeat my promises, not because I forget, but because I want to engrave them deeply in your heart. Each time you see that verse again is an invisible signal I send to keep your heart steady. These aren't just characters but a letter I've written specifically for you amid life's storms. Next time you see a Bible verse that keeps appearing, stop, take a deep breath, and ask me, God, I know you're saying something. Please make me understand more clearly. Because at that moment, that very moment, I will begin revealing insight. I will make you understand that my word never returns void. And when your heart has been nurtured by my word, when your mind begins to recognize spiritual signals, you'll feel another very practical change. You'll begin managing your finances better, even when you haven't gained a single extra dollar. That's sign number 6, and it's clear evidence that I am preparing you for abundance. Do you know what? Many people ask me for blessings but aren't ready to preserve those blessings. But you, when I see you beginning to care about every dollar you spend, recording your daily expenses, praying before each financial decision, my heart rejoices greatly because it's a clear sign you no longer let money control you but have begun to manage it with faith and wisdom. A man once lost everything, left with only 500,000 VND and an old phone. Instead of desperately spending that money, he wrote out a plan, 100K for rice, 50K to give to someone poorer than himself, and the rest to start creating content sharing about financial management. After 3 months, he had over 10,000 followers. After 6 months, he was invited to teach. After a year, he had a stable income source and never spent money without praying first. Remember my words? Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, Luke 16 verse 10. You don't need 10 million to learn management, just 10,000 that you know how to use correctly shows me you're worthy of increase. Every financial decision you make with me at the center becomes spiritual. Each time you refuse impulsive shopping, each time you set aside a small amount to help others, each time you record income and expenses with gratitude, you're showing me you're ready to receive more, not to serve yourself but to glorify my name. And child, when you've lived faithfully, I will test you with something greater, an invitation that seems crazy, a turning point no one understands, an action requiring great courage to obey. This is sign number 7. You dare to say yes to something illogical that I've assigned, and I will tell you about Noah and about you. Have you ever experienced a moment when your rational mind screamed, no, but in your heart echoed a, yes? an agreement though you didn't fully understand why. I call that faith in action. It's not understanding then believing, but believing then understanding. Remember Noah? I told him to build a massive ark in a land that had never known rain. People laughed, called him crazy, but Noah kept hammering and sawing because he wasn't following logic, he was following faith. And when the rain finally came, he was the only one prepared. A young woman once worked in marketing for a large company. One day, she declined a job offer with twice the salary just because in her heart was a reminder to start a faith-sharing channel. She doubted, she feared, but she obeyed. On the first day, her video had only 37 views. On the 10th day, someone messaged, "Thank you, sister. Because of your video, I abandoned my suicide plans." 6 months later, her channel reached hundreds of thousands of people. She not only had income from it but was living in accordance with the spiritual calling I had sown. Child, there will be times when I call you to do something no one understands, leaving a stable job, starting a project no one believes in, forgiving someone who hurt you. It's not easy, but if you obey, you'll see my power manifested most clearly. Because miracles don't happen in safety, they happen in obedience. And do you know what? Right when you've dared to say yes to what I've called you to, you'll notice something strange yet sweet. Though your bank account hasn't changed, you still feel peace, no more agitation, no more panic. That's sign number 8, you feel peace even though your bank balance hasn't changed its numbers. And that's when the miracle has already begun. Child, I know you used to think only when your bank account rises would your heart find peace. But then one day, you look back, the balance still meager, bills still there, but in your heart, there's no more panic. You feel a peace you can't explain, not based on logic, just knowing there's a gentle, deep stillness enveloping your heart. I am that source of peace, not the bank, not contracts, not salary bonuses. Peace doesn't come from circumstances but from my presence. Remember what I once said to my disciples? Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives, John 14 verse 27. The world gives peace based on conditions, but I give you supernatural tranquility even amid storms. There was a man who had just gone through bankruptcy, divorce, and serious illness. Everyone thought he would collapse, but every morning, he still put on his hat, went to the park, and sang hymns. Someone asked, "How can you still be happy?" He just smiled, "I have nothing left to hold on to, so I just hold on to God." And in that surrender, he began regaining everything in a very different way, a community supporting his healing, an old friend giving him a chance to start over, and most importantly, he never lost his peace. If you're at a time when money hasn't arrived, contracts aren't signed, salary hasn't increased, yet your heart remains peaceful, congratulations, child. You've entered the true land of faith. Because peace isn't the result of a miracle, it's evidence that a miracle is approaching. And when you're in that peace, I will use people around you, people you wouldn't expect, to tell you exactly what you've been praying for in silence. That's sign number 9. Others begin sharing exactly what you've been praying for, and that's the final confirmation before the miracle happens. My dear child, have you ever whispered to me in the dark night very personal things no one knows? And then days later, a stranger suddenly tells you exactly that, not guessing, not by chance, but as if they had heard your prayer? You're startled, moved, and begin to understand I'm confirming your words. Child, I don't just speak to you through scripture but also through people I place in the right place at the right time. When you're asking about finances, I might have a friend ask, "Do you need any help these days?" When you pray about changing direction, a pastor might preach exactly on the topic you're thinking about. Not coincidence, that's me using people to answer you. A girl was in a season of depletion, lost direction, lost income. Every evening she prayed quietly, "God, should I continue this work, or should I start something for your kingdom?" 3 days later, she received a message from a former follower. Sister, I don't understand why, but God placed this message in my heart for you. Be brave. What you're nurturing is exactly what God has assigned. She burst into tears because she had never spoken about this to anyone, only she and I knew. When you live close to me, your prayers don't drift into emptiness. They resound, and I answer, sometimes through a voice from someone else. I use people as tools to transmit messages because I know your heart needs confirmation. And when that confirmation comes from the mouth of an outsider, you no longer doubt, you know for certain I am at work. And now you've come near the end of the journey, from worry to obedience, from lack to peace, from whispers to clear confirmation. One final thing you need to know clearly, the blessing I prepare for you isn't just for you to keep but for you to become a channel of blessing. That's sign number 10 and the deepest purpose of every miracle. Child, all the signs I've shown you aren't meant to stop with you but to flow through you to others. I don't bless you just so you can live comfortably but so you can become the extended arm of my blessing, so you can bless as I have blessed you. Remember Joseph? From a slave sold off, forgotten, misunderstood, but then raised by me to become prime minister of all Egypt, not so he could sit in the palace enjoying luxury, but so he could save an entire nation from widespread famine. Blessings don't come to be displayed but to serve. Do you know what? When you want to help others even before the blessing arrives, when your heart begins to ask how your life can become a testimony for others, that's the sign you've stepped into the role of blessing carrier. Perhaps you'll share this prayer video with someone desperate. Perhaps you'll help a small family in your neighborhood. Perhaps you'll give your tithe with genuine joy. Whatever you do, when it springs from love and obedience, will never return void. I don't just want to bless you but to bless through you. You're a channel, not a reservoir. And when you live like a river, blessings will never run dry. So you've gone through all 10 signs. If you recognize at least one thing happening in your life, know that I am working, not tomorrow, not next year, but right now, at this moment. I invite you to pray again the things I've sown in your heart, write down what you've received, and if you feel ready, share this with others. Because you never know who is in the middle of their dark night, just waiting for a reminder not to give up, and you could be that small light. I am here. I see you, and I will not stop halfway.